How often, if at all, do you think about modern slavery? Most of us feel distanced from it, way up the supply chains. But some working in actuarial science are passionate about the problem and have conducted their own research.
I once visited the Lloyd's building, and I think I told the story to my peers, but I went to the top floor and there was this book, the Lloyd's book, which had a page where they actually quantified the value of a slave in the 1600s. And if you wonder how is that relevant to the work we do, it's very relevant. Whether we call it modern slavery or slavery, it's the same questions.
For me, it's generally, just to speak from my personal perspective, I came to the UK from Pakistan, and growing up, it was an issue that I saw quite seriously. I used to wonder, how can I make a change?
The ESG principle in financial services has been around for about 20 years. E stands for environmental, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. Naturally, much emphasis has been seen on environmental concerns in that time. The social strand encompasses a wide range of elements, including diversity, customer relations, working conditions, and human rights. Slavery is just one part of the latter. Where can actuaries help to focus more efforts on slavery?
In our view, it is very important to start by looking at the numbers, because I think that would give a benchmark to the industry, to the investors, policyholder, and everyone. And in our view, the actuarial profession is well placed to support their companies or their clients in coming up with a number to just start that conversation of whether or not the topic of modern slavery is relevant to the company that you work with or for.
Let's look at the numbers. Nearly 50 million people worldwide are in modern slavery. 11 million of those are in India. It is most prevalent, per 1,000 people, in North Korea and least prevalent in Switzerland. $468 billion of G20 imports are goods at risk of modern slavery. These include clothes, electronics, solar panels, and palm oil. Just 15% of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals related to forced labor, modern slavery, and human trafficking are on target.
The work that we've done as part of the IFOA Working Party, called Measuring Sustainability in the Absence of Metrics and Measurements. We've just become more aware of how hidden in plain sight the issue of modern slavery is. Now, as actuaries, we obviously work at the intersection of data, risk, and decision-making, which is why we believe that we are uniquely positioned to influence corporate policies and practices to make a meaningful impact.
There are slavery laws and regulations around the world. Are these not enough?
It's helped to see, just doing that research, seeing that, we've got things like the UK's Modern Slavery Act. What does it require of corporations? And it was quite surprising to see that there wasn't much going on despite the length of the document. All it requires is for you to post a modern slavery statement on your website. Any sort of policy without enforcement is basically useless. And so, using our research and the work that we're doing in this area, we aim to sort of push the government and other organizations within the UK to drive the work eradicating modern slavery.
A large part of the problem is that modern slavery is often hidden in plain sight.
Your supply chain or your financial operation, if there's modern slavery within those, it could be quite hidden unless you're doing audits. Stronger regulation around supply chains, it's quite hard to detect that.
An increasingly digitalized world hasn't helped.
So many organizations we've seen now outsource a lot of their operations, their online operations, to countries with lower labor standards, and this can complicate proper workforce oversight. It makes it much more difficult. The online this digitalization facilitates anonymous online transactions, and this is problematic for a couple of reasons. First of all, it makes customer and victim identification a lot more difficult, and it also massively inhibits the traceability of supply chains.
What can individual actuaries working in any sector, in any part of the world do?
If you take the actuarial professionals that work in pensions, they're probably dealing on a daily basis with investment decisions in terms of what assets to invest. And the same as you question what is their ESG agenda, you just need to ask another question on what is their credibility in terms of their modern slavery commitment. And the same on the GI side, what are the clients that we're selecting to provide cover for, and do we really understand and have we actually measured the risk associated with those exposures?
I know that there's I believe white papers when you're investing, so you have to read the company's data and see whether that as a company resonates with you. So when we're making these kind of financial decisions as to where will I make the most amount of money, which company is going to go the highest in value, we can obviously do that additional step of going into their supply chain.
That's how actually the biodiversity story started, right? People just voluntarily chose to start disclosing their impact, and that became more of a norm, and hopefully will become more of a requirement. And a similar story could unfold on the modern slavery side, and that's what we hope for.
Actuaries shouldn't underestimate the influence they have.
If more work is done to promote transparency and improve supply chains and allow this sort of due diligence to take place, then we can help organizations and governments to assess the long-term cost of slavery, and this provides potentially more incentive for them to go over and above to help kind of limit and reduce and eventually solve it.
Actually having the climate change considered alongside biodiversity loss and modern slavery will just make your ESG statement a lot more credible, and looking forward to a world that looks a lot better than the one that we are living today.
For more on this topic, see the November-December 2024 issue of The Actuary, or visit theactuary.com.